Okay, everybody, let's start with the planning session to sort of wrap up this first exciting day of the conference. It's my pleasure to introduce Bahanur as our plenary speaker, the second one today, with our talk on community-oriented development. Bahanur is an architect, researcher, and film producer. She has studied here in Vienna, but also in Barcelona, where she specialized in sustainable architecture, future-proof development concepts, which she is currently implementing in various different configurations with collaborators and partners. She's working on the cost action and the program with the aim to support communities throughout Europe to valorize their heritage collectively, to serve everyone and not just collective view, to community, inclusivity, sort of access is a really big theme in Bahanur's work, and I think it connects really nicely with the special theme of that conference, asocial spaces, asocial society, and physical form. Bahanur runs many different projects. It's always for new ones, but similar to the previous plenary speaker, Bahanur really combines academic research, project development, and implementation. So it's about practice, it's about doing, and it's about collaborating. And that's the exciting part for me and others. So yeah, with that, I think we get this underway, and then we do similar questions at the end. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for the invitation. You're welcome to I don't have a title on my first slide because I think for me this part of my work is the most important because I work very often or most of the time with people. For me, gaining trust, building up trust, and continuing to have trust in each other is the main point. So for trust, we need to be continuously working and showing what we mean with what we say, and also live what we say. And then be also honest on risks, on potential problems coming up, but also on misconceptions. So if I talk about community and working with communities, then I mean we have to be honest and we have to work continuously, and there is always room for improvement in all fields. And that's kind of like my day that I want to show you a variety of projects and aspects on which we are working. So most of you are new to Vienna, you might not know, but you can bring in Vienna like over. We have fast opportunity because we are running our local components. And this was 150 years ago. There were big problems with the water quality. The few rich ones had their own water sources, but the 99% of the people had disease, all kind of problems in factories. And a commission formed, and the commission had gathered and Edward Swiss was the one who was leading and bringing the commission together. And the council was saying that what the resource is there are resources which are closed. But they had the foresight to say, okay, all rivers, that's not a guarantee for the next decade and century. we don't know from the mountains, so they had a battle for 2 years. And in the end, there was the battle was for Vienna for 1 million people. And why am I telling that? Because the commission was resolved 2 times, but and also that it was suicide on almost coincidence because someone else died. So it was pure luck, but good luck for us. In the end, we had good water. And in fact, he is not a water socialist. He's a geologist. And I'm an architect, and I'm talking about the community, and I'm not a social geologist. So we are doing things where we are experts, but if we have the community benefit in our mind, then we can form a commission and work towards community needs. So this is our Vienna, is our history on the border to Poland also. And as you can see, it's kind of like a new district. So these buildings are very European and complex. So they were built in the 1670s, and we are still continuing to build. And what's important is, so it's not our own context, it's a new context. And now behind the fence was renewed, and this is car. One is for the parents who bring their kids to school. And I asked myself why there are maybe 20 people who are bringing their kids to school, and hundreds of others are in danger. And I was thinking, like, the school is really why don't we think about it? Why don't we ensure that the 99% who are behaving sustainable are in danger and this only because some parents want to make sure that their kids are safe. So there is again this inequality, and we always look at things and ask why is it like that, and what is excluded. So I'm happy. I know the building is done very well, and also the apartments, especially in one, are great, but there is still a problem. That's not sustainable. So we need people who know planning, who know sustainability, to look out of their box to improve things for everyone. So that things get complicated because I'm sure we are very big diverse people here, and everyone understands the demands of sustainability, and everyone can contribute differently to sustainability. So in a way, we have to still facilitate that people who are not here act in a way that we all have a future. So, and I'm going to talk about how we are doing it as a country. Many other ways as well. It's just, this is our way. So, to look at things and work with people, we have to understand what is the real challenge at this situation, in this context, in this neighborhood, in this community, in this national context, and so on. So we bring people together and try to listen to them, the ones who have already solutions, the ones who need a solution, the ones who have any kind of resources, and try to steer them with our expertise and experience towards collaboration and supporting each other. So in this regard, it's very important that we have two aspects. The one is foresight, that we know in which direction we want to steer the people, and that have a lot of process, and depending on the student or engineers, computer programmers, or planners, we have different things covered. And the second aspect is preparedness, that when things are possible, that we can just switch our behavior, do our plan different and building different and doing different. So these two aspects are kind of like our capital to work with communities and be really open in terms of disciplines that I will show, and a lot of different stakeholders together on different topics, on different agenda, and with different goals and different motivations. So, fourth side needs a couple of things to that we can add, and that one issue is that we know exactly, or as good as possible, what's the history in this context. Who was benefiting from the existing structures? Who was excluded from benefits? What did this phase or did people experience before? And what kind of sustainable alternatives before modernization came was there? And how can we employ this knowledge, this heritage, so to say, for today and for tomorrow? Then the second thing is to really understand the process of behavior and when things change, and to kind of like guess what will not change. We will probably not change the benefits of being together, but we will still have people who are more individual and who need this loneliness as well. But the benefit of being together is kind of like our collective heritage. And the moment, and if we use this for community activities, then we can spread the ideas and also improve the preparation. Then the second thing is understand, because of the understanding of the behavior patterns, understand what will be really challenging for people. And how can I work and reduce this challenge and the risk to try to technology which is totally out of their comfort zone and ensure that this change is okay. It's not something to be afraid of. Then how to know how to overcome this challenge is obviously a important thing where we relate a lot on stories of others who did this change and who face their challenges and have benefit of. Then some resources, it's not always money, but sometimes money. You need resources that means based on encountering moments of encountering, but also some mediation to change the situation, to create the moment to align our activities. And also as a pool of examples for good practices, but also which can alert what is going to happen if we continue this way. And what we do then is design pathways to come from the now situation to the preferred future, and try to build this pathway together, respecting each other's needs and wishes, and also responsibilities, because very often it's not about the wishes, it's about the responsibilities to pay the bills and so on. So this is kind of like our foresight category, and happily being active so many years and having some connections to various communities has allowed us to have a good database, let's say, on this. And I'd like to show you. So this is my personal experience. We all know we have to be climate neutral. We have in the context where I recently moved in, a system which is much more sustainable than my previous apartment. It has this central heating system powered by Vienna, and it has also cooling system. And the system is very simple for the technicians. So you have a few numbers, and each number equals to a certain degree. So if you put the number one is 5 degrees, and you have number 6 is 30 degrees. They are simple to see, and if I present this to any technicians, this smart cities, smart homes, and so on. Perfect, very easy to use, but actually it's not. We have been last week in Turkey, and we left our heating system on 4, so between 3 and 5, and it was yellow. So that means it's a heating system. And then we were in Turkey, it had right outside temperature, and then the system turned too cold. So our apartments suddenly started to cool down. When we came, we had a cooler. So, and this is happening over days, 3-4 times. And each time we have to call the technicians, we have to pick them. And this is what I mean with trust. Besides smart system will make our lives much more easier. It is the one step to get to our climate goals. But people experience that and say, no, thank you, no smart, no climate neutrality, no pandemic, because my for heating system is much better, even though it's really. And to bring this experience on the table and attention of all the developers, all the technicians, is kind of like our task, and maybe also your task. And if it's not your task, you have to find someone with that like experience to improve this system. So this is kind of like the small explanation of how obviously the project are a little bit more complicated than that. So we look into the context of things. In this positive energy district project, we are collecting and looking on the challenges Mediterranean cities have. We have beautiful sunny days most of the year, but they are not really using the solar energy so much. And they have a lot of historic cities, crowded, where even the use of solar panels is really makes sense, or is forbidden because of heritage and stuff. So we are working in those 6 municipalities because of that, because we know they are on the risk with wildfires, heat waves, the sea level rises, and all sorts. So the challenges are similar, the culture are similar, is similar, and we try to find out how these countries is maybe lesser opportunities compared in the European context can become climate neutral. And our task is not always to calculate, because as you know, we don't do this technical part, but to develop social programming labs in all the cities to engage with the people and to understand what is really their point of where they need support to change the behavior, and what can others do, investors, municipalities, governments, and so on, to make the change of behavior. So it's kind of like a giving and a taking. In the social program, we are following the concept that they can wish part of the program, so anything they want, and we will try to accommodate that with exhibitions, films, plays, games, and so on and so forth. Yeah, and workshops. But we will also bring some new knowledge from other places in other languages, so that we have a cross-combination. So we will learn from that, but we will bring also international examples and knowledge there. So this is our concept for positive energy district or energy transition. What we do also is, if you haven't been to Salzkammergut and you have some days here, Salzkammergut is like 2-3 hours from here by train. It's the cultural capital, and it's the first time that the cultural capital was given to our countryside. It's a collection of 23 municipalities. And they are in danger in terms of over-tourism, because the local people are kind of like suffering from this. But also the perspectives in rural areas is not that big or diverse for many people. And therefore also the cross collaboration is not so big either. So what we do go with our films and our bikes, show examples from other places, do film workshops with the community there, and try to capture what do they want. And then we have screenings where the mayors are there and have to listen to the point of view of the people and the needs they have. So those moments are kind of like milestones for the local opinion building, commission building, and development, and we're discussing what the objectives of the development are. As that, we do a lot of fields, and we do especially break down on the demands we are having in all our communities, collaboration partners, and cities. So this one is for instance, an example from Vienna. We all have urban greening projects there and here, and also a lot of discussions. And this collective was trying to keep the new greening in the cities alive, because the problem is if you have a small tree which doesn't have enough roots and so on, and you have the cities which don't have enough rainfall and so on. Those are these kind of things which the projects of greening fail. And they are trying to put a little bit effort in so that the trees sustain, so that our greening agenda comes forward, and then we don't have this negative media reports that there was so much money spent on public greening and greening of the city, and it's all right out and this is not good. So these kind of little dots which add up to our plans, our sustainability goals, we try to highlight because those are the things which make a project fail or not. So I start outside. We can see obviously AI. So we are using all the artificial intelligence for our projects. In this case, we selected municipalities which don't have so much opportunities to develop climate neutral projects, especially with energy district. So in Austria, for instance, we are working with a bottom-up energy community, where the municipality doesn't have any resources to support this community, but also the county is a small community. But the community has a lot of interest in improving the well-being in the village, and also what we do is bring the universities to the villagers so that they can have a PET concept which they can use for investment and also negotiations with the county and with the nation, national planning. So we do this process in a collaborative way, in cooperation, and all the steps are recorded and fed into the AI. And the AI learns in which steps it can step in to support further communities and communities, municipalities, and so on. So when we are aware that AI is a business product, so it's kind of contributes of economy, and it doesn't have a basis on ethics or on sociality. So with that kind of pathways that we try to support bottom-up initiatives or municipalities which have less opportunities to look in what kind of support they need and developing content and modeling for them. This AI is kind of for us just to utilize AI. A lot of things which we deal are not, you can show them on pictures or on drawings or on mission and so on, because it's in the human interaction visible that certain aspects are difficult for the society. And so we do a lot of, produce a lot of films, but we create also a lot of films to make visible what is kind of problematic in the society. If we talk about gentrification, and in the Vienna context, everyone thinks like social housing is not possible, it's not really related to us. But if we show a film about people left out, living on the street and having the needs and the access to certain kind of housing, then they can relate. And this is kind of like the eye opener, but also goes a little bit the empathy and the relationship to these topics. Things which are taboo and only massively visible, which primarily break them in capacity. Sometimes we have to also change our methods depending on the purpose. If work is used, sometimes it's better to have games. And in this time, we are developing cartoons. Again, working with artists and trying to make it approachable and understandable what kids growing in an urban context can do to increase their biodiversity and why it's important for them or what benefits they can have. So comics is also one way of communicating and creating a pathway for young people to understand the topic in the way they prefer, and we just kind of like fun. Not all the things, and you saw not all projects are our projects. Sometimes we only facilitate that they happen, and sometimes we are just promoting them through activities like filming and field but we are also a member at various networks, and in this one especially because it's collecting all the traces, all the traces of the past, which may predict the situation now. And we are looking in archaeology, we are looking in culture, we are looking in gender equality, and so on. And we have a network throughout Europe and collect all the examples how creative people work with these topics. So it's also an invitation to you. So there are a lot of researchers who deal with topics of climate change, social justice, and ethics, and also technology to bring these concepts together and build building an atlas, and everyone can contribute with their knowledge and their expertise. And this also gives our work to know what is going on, where we are standing with the research, and also what are creative methods to get people involved and tell stories that they make an impression on people and not only use the regular protocol. So that was the foresight. This is kind of like bringing the knowledge and the influences we get from everywhere to the ground, to the people, and to kind of like support people to go forward with things, the climate neutrality. But we need also to prepare people and the communities for actions. And here we try to create capacities that can be a training, that can be publication, that can be playing together, playing role plays and so on. But creating capacities is very important for us and makes us kind of like very accessible to our wider communities because we are addressing anyone who is who wants to do something. We have a lot of experienced people, but a lot of young people, fresh mind who are maybe not affiliated with neither a company nor with a municipality, so they are also open to discuss, to question things, and they are not afraid, let's say, to harm any relationships with institutions. So therefore, we work a lot on creating capacity and support young people with their revolutionary minds that they try a lot and they experiment. Another topic for us for the readiness is to grow solidarity. On the one hand, is creating empathy through showing scenarios which affect people, but also to bring people, actors, and communities together to that they can work together. Sometimes it's also bringing projects and funding to local communities so that they can experience what it would be really if they can go forward with this initiative. Sometimes it's also about flattening hurdles, and that is given the fact that we are outsiders to the communities and the processes, so we often have the benefit of gaining more trust, no matter if it's from municipalities, national organizations, or NGOs, or advocates for certain people. So as an outsider, we can bring in experiences from other places, which is then more expected, but also examples how it can work. Not only just an example, but also show what is the process and what's needed and stimulate the group towards. And the key value for us is to improve the access to such possibilities to a wider audience, no matter that it's the group of kids who do not have the democratic right to change or make any decisions, but also people who maybe are not mobile and live in one month in Salzburg, bringing them somehow to a workshop by with physical knowledge. So allowing this active access and support in case of problems is kind of like our core activity to help community. So one thing of our collective society or collective agenda is that our histories are relevant for many people, but not for everyone. So the history we are seeing in museums in Vienna and also many websites in cities do a really good job on tracking a lot of things, but it's this official way of perceiving things and the official story of Vienna districts, buildings, and so on. What is missing is we have, I think, 67% migration background in Vienna, and the opinion of the perception of the others with the migration background is not told and not captured. So we try to look again from the heritage perspective, what does it mean to be here as someone who has a different perspective on the city, who came as a guest worker here, as a refugee here, as a student here. And this story, what it means to them and what it means to make them feel comfortable and identify with the city of Vienna, so they really engage and want to keep this whole structure of community society alive. We need to listen to them, what it means and what can improve for them. So this is a kind of like a project where we try to listen to others and understand what is culture, society, and heritage for them to reformat and rejuvenate the story of Vienna and others. Sometimes it's also important to give a little bit support to initiatives who grew old. So we have in Vienna very good a lot of NGOs who take care of neighborhoods and so on, but maybe they lost a connection with local activities, newcomers to the city, or younger generations because they have been doing that for 30 years. And sometimes we also use new content connections with other cities and other countries to improve their visibility, to collaborate with them and do new activities. Sport organizations are everywhere in Vienna, but to bring them on the streets, make them visible, that new neighbors, new citizens can participate for them. So helping them to show where it's possible in the jungle urban context is sometimes needed and not a big project, but it's the one which is important to bring together people. And then obviously it's also important to create capacities for others to replicate and then utilize the experience to build models and training formats and online online workshops. Sometimes it was very important that we can go on ground and research and capture the disciplinary communities. This is, for example, the Plenary district, which is the Iran district towards the airport, so between city center and the airport. And it used to be pretty much an industrial district. This is changing since 10 years, and all the companies, factories, workshops are disappearing. And we try to look at this also from that perspective. It's not only housing that people have ability to live in a district where we used to, but it's also the ability to work, which again increases the distances to work, and which is again not sustainable. We need more mix of everything, but we don't do that at the moment. So raising awareness, making research, and really advocate for those who are disciplined is major important activity. In that kind of context, the whole area since thousands of years was benefiting from the soil, and it is kind of like the dying industry, and that means also that some companies have closed or closing now. Municipalities which are bankrupt, they have no budget to decide. So everything we do there is kind of like supporting the municipality, which is actually very social. If you talk to them, they have no capacity at all to do something. In this project, we are retelling the stories of this area, this virtual reality, and in collaboration with the Austrian health system to raise awareness also among the tourists who come to such. So it's an app in the end which opened the Pandora box of the area to invite things. We have collaborators from India and China in this project to make it happen. So it's kind of like, again, using the technology to tell something and build on something which we had in the past, which brought wealth to the identity to the people, and try to bring it to the next generation and make sure that we can bring the things closer to the people and they understand what this place is all about and how can play support with their activity on normal activities happenings there. In some projects, we are trying to build a bridge between municipalities and cultures. For instance, in this case, this Green Deal, again, the historic living style in the mountains, it was always much more sustainable than it is now. But building on the over capacities and bring the companies and NGOs together to think how they can cooperate on a Green Deal agenda in Italy and in Croatia is kind of like this one-to-one learning from each other. It's kind of like both in themselves, similar climate, but still very different from each other because one has socialism as a background and one was invest Euro. So there are differences but similarities, and to learn what those are supports the actors, the local actors, to go ahead and also learn what is the best or other ways to reach out for people and ensure that they are part of this change. When you look at places, then you look very often is not included in that. Who was not involved in the planning process, in the implementation, in the maintenance, in the use, in the future of this site, and that's very often the young people. Young people do not believe in democratic processes because under 18 they are not allowed to decide anything. From 18 on, slowly they get exposed, and at a point maybe they go to vote. That's it. But we need them. We need their personalities, and we need their presence in our public spaces. So in this project, we try to look on who is left out from the places and how we can ensure that they can participate in the change in the use of the places. And that made a big difference because we had a blinded workshop or workshop where we were guided by a blind person through a district. And all the youngsters were first protesting, they didn't want to blind their eyes, but it was a short but very intensive experience to understand the city, the corners, the edges, the challenges, the places which make the flavor, the sounds and the smells were much more intensive. And getting them on board, doing these activities, opening their practical impressions makes a difference, and then it's kind of like obvious for them to participate and to rethink the place, so that people who might not be seeing very well can have a place and have access to this place. So we try to work with the awareness differently by first introducing the people to different challenges and then go to the work with this individual. In this project, we are looking at places and the access to these places, and also how to get to these places. That might be a school, that might be the working place, that might be the doctors. We look at this mobility patterns in rural areas, like 15 minutes city, 30 minutes region. But our base group is women and gender minorities. Why so? Because women and gender minorities are the ones who are actually living around the city much more sustainable than men. But the cities are made for men. We have the concept that we leave the home in the morning, go to work, maybe some leisure, and then go home. This is a typical pattern of full-time worker, which is in Austria, and then you have cities as well. They are male role in a family. What does a mother do? She brings the child to kindergarten, goes to work, picks up the grandmother from social care, goes with the son to library lesson, so she has much more stops. And that's very often by foot or by public transportation. So perfect for our climate change agenda, but nothing is improved or designed for this multiple stops journey. We have only this one journey. We have tickets which go only for 1 day, and then we have to change environment. We have the car issue that either there is no second car, and if there is a car, and there is a war on his energy issues coming up, then the second car of the woman is the one on which we save. So we are not planning for those who do already make good. And this project is all about how can we ensure that people with multiple stops, which are disadvantaged at the moment, can be the pioneers, and how can we change our mobility offers to facilitate and empower them to continue to grow. Very often it's also difficult to motivate people because they feel this is an extra work, what they do in favor for youth for participation. But actually, with this, all those agendas, all those topics, new job opportunities or research opportunities show up. And we try to emphasize about what new green jobs or sustainable jobs could be possible if they would change the system, because that doesn't mean that they lose all the economy they have and all the power to cases. So in this project, we try to show in exchange with many Balkan countries how green jobs could help them on their agenda to become climate neutral and create a job on which they can be proud of and where they can have also more effort and have a good future. I showed you in the beginning a picture how the cars were lining up to bring their children. There are actually efforts in Vienna. They just don't have to reach everywhere. It's called Revitalize, and that's probably existing in many cities. We are also the ones who pick up those concepts of others to be the ones who tell the stories, but also create our own communities, bring them the children go back to school and wish that one day they can go by themselves. You don't need the parents to assist at all. So this is kind of like the future we want in comparison to the situation right now. So in a nutshell, we try to be as open as possible because we can think about the activities in different dimensions, aspects, and values, and so on. And therefore, there is also a variety of projects and groups with whom we are working, and also continents and cities. But there are some guidelines for our work where we try to be calm and get the power and communication. It's like our lesson start. So we want to work on communities, with the communities, and ensure that they have the capacity to embrace their future, that they are fed with the right information, so that and get the support if needed to go the steps forward. For this, we have to create a few things like create win-win situations, ensure that the proposed future is really affordable and accessible for all the people, so that we don't go into silos that it's not affordable and that it's for people. That we have diversity, that we do not only think in terms of the citizens of Vienna, but people who might come in the future, different groups like women, gender minorities, blind people, people who can vote as well, young youth. We try to ensure to have an overview of the civil societies, what is already on the ground, and ensure also that they do not grow old. So also invite always newcomers or new organizations to support them, that there is a kind of like dynamic and diversity, because it's better if everyone speaks for themselves and at the same table that we can negotiate on diverse issues. And that we try to not tackle only the individual problems like investors' problems or the problem of energy. It's also the problem of the use. It's also the problem of the technology, and also we try to put them together and create with all our actions more possibilities. Because if we, and that's no matter what the project is, if we say we are closing this or discontinuing this, then we will have a lot of resistance. But if we make sure that with the proposed pathway, we have more possibilities, more opportunities, and that a wider range of people can benefit from it, then we gain their support or their behavior out. And there are also things which we try to avoid at all costs, and that is of course speculation, insecurities, and having monopoles. This kind of like is poison for communities because we don't have the democratic process at all. So whatever they really suggest, or collaborate with or elaborate with people, we try to ensure that in the future, those three things will be possible. So this is that we try to be honest to people. We know that a lot of things are difficult, but with honesty, we can advance a lot in the last 20 years. And we try to continue the way we are working, try to benefit people, and then make a difference in my personal life, and also I think in our network, because a lot of people out of our network started their businesses, consultants, and or new PhD students who seem to have gain something out of this process. So I believe this is a good way to go ahead with the climate change and climate neutrality. So in a way, we all need to be out of our comfort zone. Even though I'm a fan, I believe all issues of people, which is not my core topic, but I'm honest, and they believe me most of the time that I try my best to support them. And that's the most important part, I think. If we are honest and we continue to work, then we will get somewhere better than we are here now. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the presentation, the detailed overview of the questions. Yeah, thank you. Very interesting. Just to understand where you are positioned. Is it Wonderland like an NGO? So you gather the money from funds from the municipalities or from Europe?
From Europe.
Mostly, and then you just do those on the ground.
Yeah.
And making the ideas of the articles like that. To understand where you are in that quite powerful structure of planning.
So we are kind of like the NGO which is bridging the participation processes for professional actors that might be the planners, municipality, decision makers. We are kind of like this joker. We are not affiliated to any of the municipalities. A lot of our members are working as consultants for municipalities, but they do not do a lot of projects at the moment in the motherland because they are already very much affiliated and working with several municipalities. We have a good network where we know a lot of NGOs, universities, also SMEs, municipalities, and we try to hear out what their issue is and connect this to the topics, the calls which are out on climate change, on social justice and social justice, and try to figure out how they can match and try to be creative in the approach that gets funded. So we are not in the process at all, but we request that every step of planning, as planning to implementation and also the implementation, needs this phase zero, which we call in German, where we really strongly, deeply negotiate what are the core values of this change, of this planning, and of this competition, of this revitalization. So we try to bring people on board who are maybe activists, who have very strong opinions, and try to ensure that the others.
Thanks for your time. I really enjoyed it. During your talk, you used the language of future. And I guess what I wanted to raise with you is the movement toward is a semantic difference in terms of, as opposed to using the singular of future, thinking about futures. So I wonder if you could comment on the idea of shifting our thinking from that singular focus on a future to futures, plural, and the possibilities associated with that change.
So in a way, the climate change doesn't be one future for all of us. So that's what I meant, that we can survive. It's basic future that we can survive potential challenges coming up. But there are different realities and there are different futures and also very, very different pathways.
I'm curious about how it might link to collaboration. Because a big theme of the talk is engaging people, involving them, being collaborative. When you start to shift away from a future to futures, how does that impact the notion of collaboration in terms of working?
I can, it's difficult to answer because sometimes we are really talking about a very close future or futures for youngsters for that they have upcoming event possibility in their neighborhood. So it's very, very tangible in 3 days, in 2 weeks, it's the future. So we are planning towards the future. Sometimes it's a transition to something and building up new sectors in the green economies. So it's as diverse. The futures are so as diverse as the pictures presented, and also I mean we are based in Europe, so I don't want to claim that I know much about other continents. But for Europe, we are talking about a lot of futures in very different time frames, from like hours to decades. And we try to respond as much as possible to our dialogue partners and their concept of future possibilities, opportunities, advantages, benefits, and so on. So it's very, very flexible and very has all the colors of the rainbow. I hope it helps.
Something that I was interested in, maybe connects a little bit to the question of group futures. You can imply very frequently participation essentially beyond. And maybe can you share any thoughts on the importance or the role of participation in those projects?
We experienced frequently that a lot of voices were never heard, so it's a surprise. And when the voices are heard, then it's clear that the process of the institution has to change. So in terms of participation, it's not our aim to ensure that the loudest are heard or the regular suspects participate, or we do not have the claim that we have our representative of the community, the society, or the neighbors of the district, but we want to ensure that someone speaks up, which was never a part of the process. Because we believe those who were left out, why ever, that's the reason why the planning or the current situation is the way it is. So we hope through changing the perspective to the loud, from the loudest to those who were never talking or were silence or are excluded for what reason ever, that might be religious, that might be gender, to have new sensitivities which we didn't have. And in fact, none of the planners, nor the municipalities, nor the decision makers, policy makers, they never intended to harm anyone or exclude anyone, or they say we try participation, but people are not responding. Young people, they are not interested in the planning process. We try to make it tangible for people who are not related to planning and shaping spaces and places, so that they understand what kind of impact that can have on their lives. So when we have then like an activity where streets are used for bike mobility and the cars are gone, then they experience how safe it could have been if you didn't have the cars in the first place. So these are things which are a bit experimental and further than participation, in my opinion. Because in the participation, we think a lot that the people know what they want, but they can't in many cases because they never experience anything else than what is presented to them, especially young people, because they grew up in this context and this was 100% sealed and completely the reality in which they are. And then we expect that from them think of a place which is ultimately green, which can be with supplies, but they know you are in Tirana, Albania, there is cars everywhere and you can get from A to B, and the biggest aim is to own a car. So how do you reach these people? It's not about what they experience, but imagine different futures for them, which is not taught in school or discussed in TV or discussed in homeschools. So we try to use the creativity in this way that we can think of the process. That's kind of
yeah. Thank you so much. So with this, I guess we close here. It's been a really intense first day. So thank you everybody again. Thank you so much, Bahanur.